Welcome to the Warrior Gamer Headquarters podcast. Lieutenant Colonel Ken Crigliano, your co-host.
Hi, I'm Brock with Regiment. I'm an 8-year Army veteran and a former paratrooper and a podcaster.
So I think that's my turn. I'm Brandon, otherwise known as Doc. I'm also with Regiment, and I've been with Regiment probably since about 3 years now, and I'm still an active Navy foreman.
All right, cool. And we've had a little bit of technical difficulties, as you can hear with some of the audio in Bilal's face. So bear with us a little bit. But this episode is going to be a lot of fun. We're gonna shoot the breeze a little bit and talk what's on our minds. But so previous to turning on the camera here, to all the audience, we were talking about eSports introduction into the Olympics. And it has a lot of traction both ways of folks like who don't understand esports going, this is an absolute joke. And then other folks like, this is awesome. It's going to be great for the industry. So, Brock, what say you?
I find it very interesting, and I don't really understand how they're going to make some of these esports in the Olympics work. I mean, we kind of went over the taekwondo portion. A lot of the sports they want to introduce. When we first heard about the esports coming to the Olympics, the first thing that came to mind was like, oh, Valorant, Call of Duty, like all the normal esports tournaments that you ever see. But then when we actually dove into it, it's like actual Olympic sports. So taekwondo, baseball, racing. I don't know what other sports are in there. I want to say ping pong, maybe too, some kind of pong game. And I was just
I think curling was one too.
I don't know about curling. We'd have to look at the list, but
I'm trying to find the list. So
Winter Olympics curling, yes. I mean, you talk taekwondo, and I was even just looking up because I didn't think MMA was part of it. No, it isn't, but judo is. So there's variation even within combat sports. Esports in itself has a lot of variation.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All I'm thinking of is I can finally be an athlete. So
That's kind of what I thought. I thought it'd be like, oh, these be like just behind a controller or something, you know, just be like how you see an esports event, like an esports tournament. But no, it's actual taekwondo athletes with motion capture on them, and they're competing in front of a screen, and they're like kind of kicking into the air at the opponent's avatar, scoring points that way, which I found very interesting that that's how they're going to do it. The only one that made sense to me was the racing simulation. And I think Gran Turismo is the one that's going to be used. And NASCAR did something like this in 2020 during COVID, where they had all the racers use the racing simulation setups, where they had just the racing seat with a monitor in front of it and the steering wheel and then the gear shift. And so I was like, okay, that makes kind of makes sense that they would use that. But all the other ones are just kind of wild, and you wouldn't think that would be it. I'm very interested to see how the esports, you know, how popular it will be for this next Olympics games.
I feel like televised, it's got to be. I don't know what they're going to be showing. Are they going to be showing their avatars with like almost like a little face cam, how a stream goes? So you can see the actual person doing it, but you see the actual action as the main centerpiece.
I imagine it will probably be a lot like all the other esports tournaments you've ever seen, where like they cut to the table where everyone's playing on the table, and then they cut to the gameplay, or they have like a split screen of showing the person and the gameplay. So if they do it right, I think it could go well. But if they do it like how they just show you the gameplay and not the actual athlete doing anything, I could see it flopping from that, because at that point you're just like, if I could go on Twitch and watch this, I don't have to, like, why would I watch, you know?
But these are the Olympics. These are the ones that you want to watch.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be weird. I don't know if it's going to be received very well. My personal opinion on it, but we'll see. I think the games are what they are next year, right?
Yes, the Paris has 2024, and I don't know how the esports like part of this. Evidently, they spun off a new like entity called Olympic Esports, that is, I mean, looks to be some total new entity. 2023 Olympic Esports Series 2023, a global virtual and simulated sports competition. 22 to 25 June in Singapore.
I need to start training.
This is the first I've heard of it. Have you guys heard this? Like,
yeah,
does the community know this?
I don't know if it's popularly known. It's just kind of one of those things where we look into all the latest and greatest in the gaming news and we just talk about it. And we just
the funniest stuff.
Or the funniest stuff, which is usually, stuff that's kind of weird news in the gaming world. But like we came across this. I remember seeing it on Twitter or something, and I'm like, huh? How's that?
We tend to pick things that are like real, but we can't believe that it's real.
So archery. So yes, chess and archery. Like looking at that kind of is like a showcase. Chess, I could definitely see working. Archery, I imagine they're going to do kind of like the Joe Rogan thing where you have an actual bow and an arrow with a sensor on it, and you're shooting at the screen at the target. But at that point, why don't you just do it for real?
That's what I'm saying. Is why is this virtual and not like actual? So I could see sailing. That's unbelievably expensive. I can see racing vehicles. But the rest of this,
right? But the virtual environment, I feel, I'm thinking one part from a business angle, like Olympics. I mean, when you think Olympic sponsors and the business of the Olympics, what do you think of? You don't normally think of virtual, right? So there's not a space for the digital market. Now, Olympic esports, emphasis on the E in the sports, that might introduce a different angle of business, which may be appealing. But that's the only appeal I can think of, because even for the Taekwondo, I'm thinking, well, it's been going strong for many years, as just sparring, and what's Taekwondo without getting hit, right? That just doesn't make sense, at least to so then what makes this worth receiving?
Yeah, there's no risk factor.
Maybe this is our first step into the metaverse for Olympic sports.
There's that word, metaverse.
So what I do know about the Olympics, I've been there and was a delegate to them, is, most people don't know that they are a corporation. They're a business. They're not a nonprofit. They're the whole Olympic values thing and all that stuff. I mean, they are a company. And no host of the Olympic Games have ever made money, even like decades later, of the cost, not only just to apply, but to put on the games. And so there's this aura of prestige that's around that name, Olympics. And I'm willing to bet that this is purely an industry move to go, look at all this cash flowing into esports. Let's just jump in, see what we can pull off, and gain those sponsors who would be elsewhere, right? So Nike, because Nike even built, we just heard metaverse. Nike built out one of the first metaverse places, right? I just think that they're just going, hey, if you're going to enter this industry, come to daddy. That's what I think.
You think it could also be a way of cutting costs for the event itself? Meaning, because a lot of places, if they don't already have an Olympic arena, they typically build where they're going to have the games in the years building up to the games. So instead of having to do that and just give it a virtual platform to where they don't have to do that, they could be cutting costs in that and trying to capitalize off of this. That could be a factor too. It's like they're looking at how much profit that could be made with not even just the sponsors that they could potentially have, but also the cost that they could cut by not having to actually build an area for them or fly them all out.
Less risk too.
Yeah, and that too.
Like just no risk for injuries. I'm starting to figure out how chess was ever an Olympic sport, even in person.
It's an intense game.
It's an intense game, and you got to be super smart to do it. But for Olympics, though,
you don't have to be super smart. I used to play chess.
That's a fair point.
I went to state.
Hey, you're smarter than you give yourself credit for, maybe.
I don't know. Oh man, we're going on a limb here.
I just because I have a hard time reading articles on the screen. Okay, I made have bump my head a few times when I was in the army.
He's gotten better.
Okay,
College has done him wonders.
I'm reading a little more here, and I can see what's happening too. Is so there's a qualification process, and I know from starting a world championship and creating an industry in obstacle course racing that this is how you do it. Is now all these games, there's going to be tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people, buying the games, playing the games. Then they're going to be able to recruit sponsorships into the games because they're trying to qualify. And yeah, I mean, this is like this
genius.
Yeah. Yeah.
This could be the step for the other games to get into the Olympics. The ones that we know of, like Valorant, all the ones that we were originally thinking.
Well, they won't do that. I mean, the violence, they won't do the violence. Well, I'm saying right now, highly unlikely they'll do the violence.
What if they just turn off the blood? I mean,
what about Rocket League?
What about Rocket League? Yeah, Rocket League.
Yeah.
Virtual car soccer.
I'm shocked it's not
what it is. What, Rocket League?
Yeah, I bet Rocket League, there must have been some kind of like business thing that happened, because there's just,
I could see that one coming in fairly quickly.
Because I'm sure the Olympics were like, hey, look, we'll put your game in here if you give us like $8 million cash. And I'm looking at all these companies right here. I mean, they all have cash, so that's what I'm willing to bet.
Oh, go ahead.
It's a money move, which I know nothing about.
Same.
Yeah, I'm looking at so Olympics. The other thing about Olympics is that it has, I mean this kind of, but it has a global presence in the sense that every country, no matter how poor, is well aware of the Olympics and the cultural phenomenon that it has. Esports doesn't have that, right? So if you look at it says right here, Olympic Esports Week 23-25 June in Singapore, right? Imagine what other countries could be involved in this. You could probably guess, South Korea, probably guess China, maybe a few Western countries in Western Europe, but not Eastern Europe, and not like all of Africa. South America, Latin America, you could see like Brazil, sure. But other than that, what else do you have? I mean, I know Saudi Arabia is now kind of like dipping their toes into like Counter-Strike and such, but globally, esports is still on the come up. It's still not well within the culture of just about every country in the same way the Olympics is.
Yeah, and it could be expanding just digital age and assets in general, because the Olympics can be seen as like a political move as well. Like if a country has a big status, they want to prove a point, win things at the Olympics.
Yeah. And Bilal, you brought up a really good point, because one of the big criticisms of the Olympics is that, your country has to be very wealthy. Your city has to be very wealthy to host. And I don't remember the stat, but it's something like 60% of the cities who are hosting have hosted before multiple times. And now, I mean, to host the esports, like
it's easier.
Yeah, you do that in Zimbabwe,
All you need is an arena. That's it.
And internet. That's it.
The internet could be a huge thing, though.
It's kind of fascinating because 2020 really kind of propelled esports in a direction that would have either been really slow or never would have happened in the first place. But esports and like doing everything online anyway, being given the world's circumstances, has really kind of set it on a trajectory for success. And a lot of people are diving into it now because of that.
I'm just ready for some Ready Player One style of tournament.
I feel like that's not far away, honestly.
I'll be cheating the laziest piece.
Like the cheating, when I tried to put on a in-person esports competition with Zwift, a bike race. And I mean, it was trying to get around the cheating it was impossible.
Even in
really
person? What was the cheating in person?
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we actually pulled this off. So we had the NFL Hall of Fame. We had a bunch of bikes on trainers that were donated to us, and we had the bikes on trainers. We had the apps and everything, and we were talking to Zwift, and we're like, "Hey, look, we're going to put some Hall of Famers on this thing, and we're going to have people around the world challenge them to like a 2-mile or whatever it is, to raise funds and for charity." And when we were going through the whole like process of like we're going to give away stuff and everything, the folks on the other end were like, that you can't, even heart rate data can be faked, wattage can be faked, there's nothing, even a camera, like we were going to put on your camera, you have to have heart rate, you have to have watt meter and all this stuff, and it was just not possible. They were like, the cheating, it's not possible.
So the cheating was coming from the other end.
Yeah, the people in the game.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so this wasn't in person then?
So no, he was saying that the virtual people were the ones that were cheating.
Yeah,
that's the downside. Anything that's never fully in person, and I think that's the only reason that conventional esports that we know of, like Call of Duty League, the Rocket Leagues, and everything, have been able to survive, because they're in-person LAN events and they're able to mitigate the cheating significantly more than the online tournaments. The online tournaments are almost a joke.
Yeah, the LAN tournaments are in a more controlled environment where everyone's hardware and software gets checked, and it's very, very hard to cheat at an in-person event. It has happened, but it's hard. I think there was, I could be wrong about this, but there was a person not long ago that was caught using cheats because you can bring your own PC, and he had it kind of in a Trojan horse kind of software to where it was hidden, to when they actually ran the checks, they couldn't find it, and then he activated it when they weren't looking, and things were looking amiss, and they kind of were looking at his task manager and stuff and seeing that he had cheats going, and then they pulled him from the tournament. But this kind of stuff can happen. It's just harder to do it in a controlled environment like a LAN tournament. So, because you're right there, you're on a closed network, there's really no way to cheat. I mean, there is a way, but there's no way to really cheat and get away with it. When you're competing online with other people that are in and outside of that controlled environment, it's way easier for them to cheat, because then you're just like, man, this person's either really good or something's wrong. And like you were having with a Swift thing, the people on the other end were the ones cheating, because you can fake that stuff, but they're also out of your environment. You can't really oversee that and control it. Whereas the competitors that you had in person, you knew all the equipment, you knew what they were doing, like they were there all the time, and they couldn't cheat. So,
and it's like the run up too. Like people are going to cheat their butts off to qualify, I think, because they're going to be remote. And then who cares if you get smashed when you show up? You made it. That's like my concern.
The cheating thing, that wasn't something that I kind of took into thought when I thought of the esports for the Olympics. I kind of thought that at first I was thinking it was going to be normal Olympics, but the esports arena would be at the games, and all the competitors would be there and just competing, kind of like a LAN tournament. I didn't think that it would be like they don't have to be there. They could just be online, and then that just kind of puts in a whole new factor of like they could easily cheat if they're not actually at the arena.
Well, so anything online you can easily cheat.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I would think like the way that they detect these, I'm willing to bet my salary that the way that these games are doing it right now is just anomaly detection of like, okay, a certain person has a certain level of performance, and the moment it starts to kind of like, go, exponential versus, linear, like, okay, flag. Cause that's I mean, that's what they do in real sports. It's like, okay, this person typically is like third, and all of a sudden they just beat the field by 3 minutes. Something's going on, right?
Hey, come here and pee in this cup real quick.
Yeah. And then nowadays, I mean, finding stuff, and I mean, it's so hard to find the technology now with what people are taking.
I've heard. I saw that documentary with the Russians where they were. I can't remember the name of the doc. Oh, it was Icarus.
Oh yeah.
That whole thing was crazy.
It's sophisticated, man. I mean, this is big money stuff, man. Like big money.
And even if there's not money in it, there's usually money outside of it, like sponsorship deals, brand deals. You can be on a Wheaties box. Yeah. This will be the new Wheaties. People have a controller in their hand or something.
Every competition has cheaters.
Yeah. Did you guys see like how much money like Lance Armstrong made off of his sponsorships and the bankrolling of that Livestrong organization? Like, I mean,
no, I didn't.
That thing was making like $500 million a year.
Oh my God.
It's a lot. I think Michael Jordan's made more from Nike than he ever did from the NBA.
Oh yeah. When you can come back and like buy your team that you were on, like something or another team, like something's right. But I mean, the post office was sponsoring Lance Armstrong, and they sued him for like millions and millions of dollars. Like it's a lot of money.
Let the government sponsor me.
Especially you're doing something illegal across the whole planet.
Because anything that I mess up on, they're gonna get theirs. I've been down this road before.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Not getting me again.
And also if they mess up and like, give you too much, they're still gonna get theirs. I had that experience too.
Like PTSD flashbacks. If I ever had a post office call me to sponsor me, I would run the other way. Something is suspicious. Y'all can't even deliver on Sundays. What do you mean you want to sponsor me?
I'm going to mess up and you're going to make me pay for the rest of my life.
I don't even think we have mail on Saturdays anymore, but you got money to sponsor me? Sounds fishy.
Whoever made that decision, like, yeah, hey guys, you know what? This is a really good business decision. Let's sponsor this dude for the Tour de France that's in France, not even in America. We don't even deliver mail there. Like, I would have loved to be. I've been in the government for more than 20 years, and I don't see how anyone would make.
Maybe that's why, because it doesn't make sense, and that's why we're doing it.
Classic.
That would make complete sense or nonsense.
Oh, yeah.
Think about what makes sense and do the exact opposite.
That's usually what the government does.
Yeah.
Also, common sense isn't really so common either.
They'll never see it coming.
No. Nope.
I was out of the Air Force for 2 years when I got a bill saying I got overpaid the last 6 months.
What?
2 years. I was a student. I was like, I'm broke. I don't have this money.
Something similar happened to me when I was active because I was airborne and with our jump pay. So we were on a jump rule where our jump pay, because it was like during deployment stuff. So our jump rule was that you only had to get 4 jumps in the year, whereas on a normal jump rule, you're supposed to get a jump in like every quarter, and it's spread out. And if you miss that quarter and you don't get that jump, you have to pay back that hazardous duty pay. Well, how it worked for I want to say it was jump rule 4 we were in. If you don't get that 4 jumps in the year, if you get 3 and you don't get that 4th one, you owe for the whole year. So I got to the units and didn't know that my jump log had been opened when I got there, because when they processed me in, they opened my jump log. Well, because of sequestration, parachutes were cut, so there weren't a lot of parachutes. And so jumps weren't happening as often. So I had my first jump and that was it. And then about months and months and months went by. We finally had jumps. They're like, hey, who needs to get their jumps finished for the year? And I'm like, I still need to do 3 jumps. So I did 3 jumps in one day. And I did that jump 1 week after the jump rule ended. So like I was a week late. So the year had come up and I had been short for that year. And they called me into to the finance office and said, "Hey, you owe for the whole year." And I'm like, "But I had the jumps in." And I showed them my jump log, like, your jump log opened on this date. You didn't get your other three jumps in until this date, which was days to even a week after the year was up. So I had to pay back that whole year. So I set up a payment plan. And because somebody in finance didn't submit the paperwork, they just garnished my wages. So then I was going up to Germany for a school. And for the school, they're like, you have to pay for your own hotel. You got to pay for a rental car. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm just an E3 or E4. Like, I can't afford this shit. But I did it anyway. And I found out on my way up there that they just took my whole paycheck. And they didn't actually like submit the paperwork for the actually doing the payment plan for it. So yeah, they're like, you owe us about $2,000. And I was like, what?
Moral of the story is should have joined the Air Force.
Yeah.
There's so many stories of like from finance and IT where they just like they're just totally clueless on like the human aspect of what they're doing behind the computer or whatever. It's just like, hey, today I was like, I hope I don't have to talk about this on the podcast today, but today I had a problem with my Adobe app. So they deleted my entire profile. I was like, who thought that was a good idea? Well, it's just
wait, Adobe deleted your profile?
No. So, I'm on government computers because
I'm
active duty.
Mm-hmm.
Call the IT help desk. I'm like, hey, Adobe's jacked up, dude. Something's jacked up. It's asking for a license. You guys need to put a license in here. So he's like, okay, hold on. I thought he's getting a license. Next thing I know, my computer's deleted. The whole damn thing. And I go in there and I'm like, what is this? It's like I never logged on before. He said, oh yeah, we just put a new image on there. No.
You just lost everything.
No.
That's what finance does. Oh, you know what? It'd be really good, guys. Just do the one paycheck. That'll make it so easy. Just do it one time and take all his money for that month.
Yeah, all of it, all at one time.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing that for my command now as what the Navy calls a collateral duty. So I'm medical dealing with people's pay and getting to struggle with myself, having to tell the other people that on my end, I'm like, I'm doing everything that I can.
Yeah.
On the bigger government side, they're like, we'll get to it. It's like a 2-week turnaround.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it was like a 1-day turnaround for you to fuck my shit up.
Yeah, what? It takes 1 day. 1 day. It's like, oh, you owe money. That's gone tomorrow. Oh, we owe you money?
Good luck.
They got some forms you got to fill out. You got to get a request.
You might see that. You might see that when you retire.
Oh, the whole government
we'll
travel
put it in your
thing.
TSP so you get a 62.5.
Put it in the new blended retirement they got going on now.
Oh yeah.
I got out right when that started.
It's probably great for people that don't do 20.
Or the people that are in the National Guard.
Unless you're in the Air National Guard.
Yeah, they've been having a rough time.
I feel bad for all that, especially the folks in the Guard that do any type of space mission right now.
As long as they're not hiring hitmen.
Oh, that one too. There's been 3 accounts in the last year of something happening with the Air National Guard. That we had the 2-star general that was and it's funny enough, this general was using his lower enlisted to do his cyber awareness training for him, and using people to chauffeur him to appointments in the grocery store.
And his mom.
Take his mom to the grocery store. And then he said it's part of the wingman system. But and then you had the Air National Guardsman leak the documents. And then you have an Air National Guardsman like go to renthitman.com to try to apply to be a hitman. And then you find out that he only did that because another Air National Guardsman suggested that he did it. It's like, what's going on with the Air National Guard, guys?
I know that conversation was like, man, I'm broke. Just go be a hitman, dude. I don't know. 100% sarcastic like that. And he was like, you're right. I'm going to go be a hitman. And goes on Google and finds rentahitman.com. We spent 15 minutes going over this whole website.
It was,
and it's 1,000% you can tell it's not legitimate, but this guy's like, it seems right to me. I don't see a flaw.
But you didn't even mention like the leak
which leak?
of the guards member.
Oh, that's the one that's in the national news.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the guy that leaked all the classified docs?
Yeah, of your list of all the things.
Oh no, he was in there. He was in there.
That was well known.
Oh, okay.
It was the general.
Less funny.
It was the general, and then it was the leaked docs guy, and then it was the hitman guy, and then it was the guy that told the hitman guy to be a hitman. And I'm just like, the Air Force is pretty stingy about who they let in, and it's pretty surprising that these guys are kind of getting through the cracks on it.
Yeah, this article was right after we talked about the Navy letting people in with 10 ASVABs.
Mm-hmm.
10?
Yeah.
Yeah. Recruiting numbers are down, so we gotta let anybody in.
I didn't believe him, and then I looked it up, and I'm like, oh my god, you're telling the truth.
I gotta look it up.
They already reset all the PRT failures and all the fat people, and they're like, no, you can stay. You can stay. Just get skinny.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 years down the line, if you fail again, we'll reassess then.
Sorry, Doc, but your branch is full of PT failures and HAZBAB waivers.
Now, yep, yeah, that's
the exact article.
Oh no!
How
category
fallen.
Category 4 recruits, whatever that means.
That's what they call them.
That's category 4 recruits. Yeah.
What?
I call them the window lickers, but
it's kind of crazy, and the biggest reason why they're doing this is because retention and recruiting is so low. I mean, it's low across the board for every branch, but the Navy is like trying to do whatever they can to get the numbers up.
And the new medical system that the military just implemented is not doing good things for recruiting.
No, yeah, you work in the medical field, so you see that more than like most people do.
You know how like back in our days when we joined, if we had something in our past that is either not prevalent when we joined, we legitimately forgot about it, and our recruiter is like, is it a problem now? Don't tell them.
Honor system.
Yeah, integrity.
This is the honor system, and now
they just never found out, right? And because it wasn't an issue when they joined. Now they can see all of that history regardless of the person not telling them. If they legitimately forgot, let's say they could have been diagnosed with ADHD when they were 9 and then never been medicated after 10 years old and completely forgot about it, so they didn't say anything. Now that system can see that.
And how can they see that with HIPAA? I mean,
it's like a new civilianized medical system that's able to see all of your civilian medical history. MHS Genesis.
I'm looking it up.
Wait, they can do that? What?
Yeah, it's crazy. So now,
before they used to just tell you,
now they're like, if you lie, you're gonna get kicked out. Never saw it happen.
They used to always tell you, like, if you lie, we'll know because we could see it, but they actually couldn't.
Liars, yeah.
Now they say, if you lie, we can see it, and then they can also look at it and never tell you that they looked at it until after they looked at it.
I thought till like halfway through my career, I've been in 13 years. I thought like halfway through my career that they could always see my medical records regardless. Nope, it was only whatever I fucking told them. If you were a military brat, then you were screwed. They have everything.
Yeah. I was a military brat, so I had a TRICARE medical record before I joined.
Suck.
That's why I take my kids off base. They don't see a military treatment facility. I don't care.
I wouldn't trust.
I pay. Like, plus the support is just terrible anyway. And these people, I don't care about. You know what? I don't care about the system because these people don't know anything. I call up and they don't know who I am, what I've done, who, anything.
Because there's also
about
no
me.
training for that. That system got implemented, and the people at the top don't have access that they need to train people. The trainers are like, I'm kind of just going about this and showing you what I figured out so you can kind of figure it out as well. No one knows what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, Doc worked in the mental health area for a while.
For Navy boot camp.
Yeah. And the mental health system in the VA, especially here in North Chicago, is like really bad. Like really bad. And I got lucky that my mental health is being taken care of in community care at the expense of the VA. So I got lucky with that. But other guys that I know, a close friend of mine, his mental health is being through the VA, and he gets an appointment once every 5 to 6 months if they don't cancel on him.
Oh my God.
The day of.
Yeah, the day of. And then I see my therapist every week. So it's pretty bad over there. And
that's actually the location that I found Regiment and got into like the gaming military scene of everything.
Yeah, that's how you and I met.
Sure.
Because I live close to the base, so I found out I got into Regiment, and he was also in Regiment, and then he's like, I'm like, hey, where are you stationed at? He told me, I'm like, dude, it's like 25, 30 minutes from my house. And then we met up for some drinks, and then
you're skipping a lot of detail. The first time that we truly interacted, he was in drag.
Yeah, I was on Twitch, and I was streaming for Halloween. I was wearing a wig and makeup and stuff. And he's like, what is this? And I was like, I'm just doing it for fun. And then we met up for some drinks, and then we started podcasting together. And then and I've been in Regiment ever since then, like since 2020. So
all right. So if folks want to see your antics on your podcast and be part of what you guys are doing, how can they find you and give them some breadcrumbs?
You could easily Google Regiment now, but the Discord is just regiment.gg and it'll pop up.
So we're on YouTube. If you go to Regiment GG on YouTube, you can find our page. And the Smoke Pit podcast, the one that me and him are on, is on the YouTube, and it's also on Spotify. So we're also the Smoke Pit on Spotify and on Apple. Currently trying to get it on Google and everything else. So, yep, there we are. The next episode actually comes out tomorrow. The one where we talk about all the Air National Guardsmen and stuff.
All right.
There you go. This is
all right. So you got 1,500 folks.
People
tuning in.
We're kind of the first ones that are truly doing anything with the YouTube in a while. It was kind of dormant for a bit, and then the podcast was starting to kick up pretty well with the former hosts, and then he ended up getting deployed and wasn't able to do it anymore. And then we're like, hey, people already know us, let us do it.
Yep.
It's cool.
And that kind of stemmed from the experience that me and him have, because I have my own personal podcast too. And being part of Regiment, it was like, hey, you do a podcast, you want to do ours? It's like, yeah, absolutely.
And people like our dynamic. It's like just essentially like a barracks party. Just
it's
bullshitting with your friends about nerd stuff, and then stupid military stories.
No sock parties.
No sock parties. No.
Okay.
We call it. But basically, the way to put it is it's like a barracks party, but without the barracks bunny.
So you're America's #1 military gaming organization?
Yeah, Regiment. The Regiment is the largest, so I want to say we're pushing about 30,000 right now members.
I think it's 20,000.
It's over 20,000. I could double check that right now.
Members.
Let's get some updated numbers.
23,041 members right now.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Nice.
And when I joined in 2019, I think it was 2019.
And that was a long time ago, bro.
Yeah, it really was. Actually, it was July 13th, 2020. Thank you, Discord.
Mm-hmm.
And there was 400 people in the server.
Same. It was the same when I joined too. There wasn't very many, but it exploded. I don't even remember what the event was that caused it to explode. I'm gonna say it might have been a PC giveaway.
TikTok was a big one.
TikTok too, yeah. TikTok.
Really?
TikTok skyrocketed us for a while. I think we probably got about a good 10,000 people in a very short amount of time from TikTok. A few videos that ended up going viral.
And Chris, the owner, he started it in 2019 and then ended up doing kind of a rebrand of it in early 2020.
Yep.
And it just, after that, he was getting more familiar with like how the networking and social media and stuff worked. And then it just took off from there. And it's been kind of like just on a rocket up since.
He did it on his way out of the Marine Corps as he was getting out. So like when I first interacted with him, he was still in the Marine Corps doing his out processing. And I think he got out around that summertime, fall time-ish. And then just seeing he's like the nade shot for the military. Where
pretty much, yeah.
He's so young and so smart. And the moves that he's done with Regiment is insane. And none of it has been for himself. Because I know that he has a stream that he does. And he does his own gaming stuff. But he never promotes it. He never talks about it. He never brings it into Regiment. People will find him on there. And like some of us know about it. But I don't think he's ever promoted it. He's never talked about it. It's not about his game. It's about everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Especially towards like the, bringing vets together through the power of gaming. So that's the one thing that a lot of vets and a lot of people in the military have in common with each other that, especially from when we get out, that transition period of getting out. And the one thing that we miss is our friends. Like, the one thing that we bonded over, especially in the downtime between the gym, was gaming. So having a gaming community where all the vets can get together and all the other people in other units can get together and actually play these games together and give them like this space that they can come and hang out and, be with like-minded people. That's what Regiment's all about. And even more so since partnering with Stack Up and Irreverent Warriors. So Stack Up is another, I'm sure you guys are familiar with Stack Up.
Well, people who are tuning in may not be, so let's.
That's true. So Stack Up is another military gaming organization, but they focus mostly on the mental health. And they have what's called a STOP or Overwatch program, which is a 24/7 veteran crisis support line. And unlike the VA, the people that are on the other end of that support line are veterans themselves, and they're trained with crisis intervention. Okay. And even if you just want someone to talk to, they'll definitely do that too. So, but if you need resources, they'll help point you in the right direction. They'll reach out to whoever they need to let them know like, hey, this person's going through some shit and they need your help. And we're going to point them in the right direction for mental health resources and stuff. And if you're a shy person and you don't really want to talk on the phone, they can DM with you. And the thing that I like about it the most is the aspect of the people on the other end of that crisis line are all veterans and they're all trained. So every single one of them have had similar experiences and they know what you're going through. So that's pretty awesome that they have that. Other things that they do is their air assaults. They'll take a veteran and they'll fly him out to conventions like TwitchCon, Comic-Con, all expenses paid. Conventions that happen to be in Los Angeles, they'll put them up in this thing they call the Phalanx House, which is like a house that's essentially just a big gaming lounge with a pool, hot tub, grill, LAN room. I think there's a pool table in it and like a lounge to watch movies and hang out and stuff, just to kind of keep, vets hanging out with each other.
That's cool.
And then they have supply crates where they'll send out gaming consoles, gaming equipment, all that stuff. And they do a charity every year, which is their Call to Arms charity. And we're currently trying to raise $50,000 this year for it. And it helps fund Stack Up's or programs that they have. So we love Stack Up, and we also love High W. Doc knows more about the Irreverent Warriors thing because he's
the one that introduced them to the organization. It's another partnership that we did. It's one of the Roman Warriors is an all veteran organization that they do the Silkies events where, the military short shorts, and it's like dark humor in the military that you don't really get. You get that camaraderie, but it's all veteran. And I introduced the regiment guys to that because we're always in our kind of hidey holes in our little game rooms here. And some of us never really touch grass all that much, especially after we get out. And we tend to introvertly go towards the games a good portion of the time. And I wanted to get these guys out at least for one event of the year around them, to get them to another veteran organization where they can still have that same connection that they have with the games, but they meet in person. They're wearing the Silkies. They're having a laugh. They're having a good time. And then they go back to playing games.
That's cool. This is great, man. So, I mean, this would be a huge benefit for folks who are out there. Over the last week, I've had to deal with someone close who was suicidal, and it's a lot of energy,
It is.
I mean, a lot of energy. And it was interesting because like on Monday, I was like, I need to be trained in this, because I was not effective, I was not effective in the way that I was responding. And I was like, I need to get trained. And so this is great for people, not only if they think they can offer services to other folks to give back, but if you're, in that mind frame, I mean, these people are amazing. And it's a text too. Like that's super helpful, man.
It's huge, especially with the whole, like, you don't have to be on the phone with them. You can just DM with them, because a lot of people are just, they have a hard time talking to somebody. And
or maybe their spouse is right there and they're in bed, and like that's
And they do it through Discord too.
Yeah. So
cool.
It's pretty awesome. And like you were saying that you wish you had the training, Stack Up does have, you can apply to go through their training courses.
Boom.
So
I already got it up.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. I have it up. I'm keeping it up. So when we're done with the call, I'm gonna click on it.
Don't you also have to have a military background?
I think for this,
doesn't say.
Yes, maybe not. From what I understood, that you did, like all the people that are part of the crisis counseling, they are vets. Or maybe it's if you are a vet looking for crisis intervention, the crisis counselors that they'll give you are vets.
Like a request type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Regiment has, has banded together with these orgs to kind of have this support network for all the vets that, because like isolation is the number one killer of us. Like we all fall victim of just, we kind of get introverted and we just isolate, we kind of go through our own stuff. And isolation is like, these kinds of things keep us from isolating. And regiments even doing annual barbecues to get regiment members out to meeting each other, and partnering with IW also get regiment members to these hikes to where they can hang out with other regiment members and meet new people at the same time. There hasn't been an announcement yet for this year's barbecue, but last year we did a barbecue in Ohio. Was it, Doc?
Yes, Columbus.
Columbus, Ohio. I didn't get to go because of school, but every year we're gonna be having a barbecue, and we're trying to expand that. So keep an eye out for an announcement for the next regiment barbecue. Apparently it's an awesome time. We have some cool photos of they brought green weenies. And
they stole that from IW. I just want to throw that out.
It was a green weenie catch. Like you had to catch it with your mouth, and it was like a green weenie toss. But yeah, it's a great time.
The Marines won. Shocking.
Yeah, they thought it was a crayon
joke. There's usually crayon eating events as well. I've seen those where it was actual wax crayons, and they ate. It was the fastest to eat the crayon, and they would win like a subscription to Vet TV or something, and nobody but the Marines were eating the crayon. They were legitimate crayons, not like the gum, not the food. It wasn't candy. It was a legitimate crayon.
Bilal probably has no idea what we're talking about.
No, I don't.
So we call Marines crayon eaters.
Because they're
That
stupid.
I've heard, yes.
And so there are some Marines out there that will have competitions about crayons, actually eating the crayons.
Actually eating.
And there was a guy in regiment that I was playing with, and he said, I actually had a guy in my unit that had a favorite crayon. And I'm like, you're kidding. He's like, no. Like, he had a favorite crayon that he liked. He said it tastes different from the rest. I'm like, what the hell, man?
It just makes me think of those markers when you're a kid that would smell like blueberries.
The scented ones, yeah.
Oh yeah.
When you think about it, we're just children out here huffing markers, because that was a great idea. So many things I feel like could be explained because we're all just sniffing markers as kids.
And the ones that were sniffing the markers grew up to be Marines.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Unbelievable.
Or just snipped a couple and then they just enlisted.
Integral to national security. Thank you, Crayola. Okay. You saved Fallujah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Gotta love the Marines though.
I the best people I've ever served with are Marines, and man, I have nothing but love and respect for what they go through.
It's a double-edged sword. Some of the best, but some of the fucking worst.
I'm gonna do so much editing on this episode because of you guys.
Sorry about that.
Marines are the reason that when I asked the question, "Did you wear a condom?" that I have to follow it up with, "Did you keep it on the whole time?"
You chose to be a corpsman. That's all I'm gonna say.
So much editing. Okay, I love you guys. I gotta go to bed. It's late here on the East Coast. If I want to keep my marriage together, I gotta split.
Overrated.
But you guys can stay on if you want. Bilal, you guys intend to stay on? You guys gotta split.
I don't have a life. I'm a gamer, so.
All right.
I'm just doing homework.
You already know.
I'm gonna pass it off to you, brother, and then you can end it if you want.
Appreciate you for having us on, by the way.
Yeah, appreciate that a lot.
Of course, you guys.
I'd love
awesome.
to do this again. We've got plenty of things that we could talk about.
Oh yeah.
Well, I want to be on your episode now.
I was gonna say,
we could definitely have you on. That's gonna be a ride, I promise.
Run that show, man. What's going on?
Go through some of the articles with us, because that's one of our favorite things. Is it kind of stemmed from his podcast. We'll go through the article and then we'll have our banter back and forth about it, and it's a hilarious time.
That's good. All right, so I'm probably gonna split here in a few secs. Boom.
Few secs.
Yeah. See, you saw that. You saw that. Yeah.
Don't be tempting us over here.
Hey, break out the whoopee. It's a party.
Oh, he actually
poncho liner.
wasn't kidding.
Did you think he was kidding?
Yeah, I thought he was kidding.
That's glorious.
Yeah, but no, I love that. You know, the more jackassery, the better.
That's what makes it fun.
It makes it real fun, and that's the thing. Also, is that so
that's what we miss.
The military gives you a unique humor, I'll say, and to actually have a space to share that humor with another person that shares that same sense of humor. Like that's the whole idea behind Smoke Pit and behind Regiment, is just kind of a place where we can all just be us, and like that's why doing Smoke Pit and all the other things that we do it's so much fun, because like it's like being in the barracks again and talking to your buddies about like your commander that you hate, and it's just it's fun.
Right.
That connection.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. It's just that connection. Everyone has their tribe, and everyone wants to be with their tribe. When you get out, the military people lose that tribe and don't really get that unless they're around other veterans.
That's true.
And
the most like-minded civilian counterpart that I can say is similar is probably like medical field and like police, firefighters, those type of things. And they also have very similar humor as well, because misery loves company.
And on top of that, like when we get out, I mean, Doc, you're still in, but one of the things that a lot of people don't talk about is when we get out, like we have that huge disconnection with everybody that is back home. Because when we were gone doing all the things that we were doing, life back home stayed the same. So everyone that you have in your group of friends has done nothing else. Like they're kind of complacent in their life and they have a different drive than what you have. And you come out more goal oriented. You learn a lot of these things in the military about being goal oriented. At least a lot of people do. A lot of people, when they get out, they don't do anything. But for the most part, and like I can only speak for myself, but in my case, like I was very goal oriented when I got out. I had a plan of what I wanted to do. I didn't care what I had to do to get there. And then I started doing it. And then I see my friends, and I went to hang out with my friends again, and it was just there's no common ground anymore. Like because they're like, you're different. I'm like, yeah, I know I am. You guys are still the same. That's the problem. And there was like getting along with them after getting back was the hardest part because of that disconnect. And then I have one of my closest friends who just he had no drive to do more than what he was doing, and would always complain about certain things in his life. And I would give him suggestions like I would one of my soldiers. So like I'd give him suggestions to like improve this, and he just wouldn't take it. He was just like, I don't know. And for us, we don't understand why someone's mind is or their thought process is like that. So it's just like, what do you mean you don't know? I'm literally telling you right now. And yeah, and the biggest part is there's like no more common ground with your friends. Like your best friends when you leave are probably not going to be your best friends when you come back. It's tough. So
which is also why I was interested in your guys' organization while we were doing some research, and because you guys have like that bridge gap between the veterans and then the non-veterans to try to get a bit more connection to society. What kind of got you into that?
What got me into that? So I'm also, so as you can probably tell, I don't have a military background. In fact, the only military background, this doesn't really count. My grandfather passed away before I was born. He was in the Pakistani army. What I do know is that mentality went down to my father, which went down to me. So that's how I was raised, with that discipline, with that hard work, with that drive, right? And I've always been a lifelong gamer, and I've always been lifelong interested in people, in their stories, in their health. I'm a med student right now. And so I was like, okay, what's the combination of these things? Where can I go? And then one connection led to another. Eventually I came here. So I am like kind of like that really in between. I don't have that service, right? I don't have that experience. I don't have that, tie-in exactly. But I'm also being, within the healthcare space where I have interacted with many other veterans, many other future law enforcement, fire. I used to work as an EMT. Most of my colleagues were like that. And the thing I missed most about that job was just the banter, the humor. It was top notch. I could not like live without it. The shift work was so boring, but because I had those guys, it was so much fun. And then I'd come home and I'd go to my other friends, and I just kind of miss that, right? And I'm only experiencing the smallest taste of it. Now, I can only imagine how much more extreme it is for somebody coming from literally all across the world in a country where most Americans probably don't even know, couldn't even locate on a map. And they come over here.
I can barely locate a state on a map.
Exactly. Like it's just super difficult to navigate that. And I can only imagine how difficult that is. So I wanted to be that bridge. And so that's what got me into this. So far, it's been super, super fun. This podcast was actually my idea. Originally, I was like, you know what, we got to get this message out. And then as we're getting this message out, I'm finding that there's a lot more people, like us who are trying to create that gap, who are trying to not create that gap, close that gap, who are trying to form that community. And that's just the best thing we can do, I think.
That's so there's a thing, like, speaking of bridging gaps. So Regiment's been getting involved with the American Legion a lot lately. So we were at the American Legion convention last August, and the biggest idea that we had with this, with our PC sponsor, Paradox Customs, these are all the things that I wanted to talk about also on here to kind of spread the word for this. So Paradox Customs is our PC sponsor, and we do PC giveaways with them every month or so. And at this convention, we were getting with the American Legion to kind of set up this thing called the Gamer Initiative, where We Regiment and our PC sponsor would, build PCs or give the options for these American Legion posts to buy PCs to put gaming lounges in all the American Legion posts. And at that convention, one of the post commanders won the PC and set up the first gaming lounge at his post in down in Virginia. And there's bridging the gap between the old generation of vet with the new. And that's also equally important because American Legion posts, everyone looks at the American Legion post or VFW post as
a bar.
Is like a bar where old vets go to trade war stories. But we're kind of trying to shift that narrative to be a place where the younger generation of vets can come, meet the old generation of vets, kind of introduce the old generation to things that the new generation is into, and also give the new generation of vets a place to hang out with that isn't just a bar. Mm-hmm. So we have that also going on, which is pretty awesome. Trying to get all these gaming lounges to each post, so
and make them not just a little closet.
And Regiment itself is a bridge to gap the civilians and the military life. So because anybody can be in Regiment. You can. The only thing is, to get verified, you have to be in the military. But supporters, which is the civilians, they can be in the server as well. And we could play with them. We have plenty of people that aren't verified vets that play with us. And, that common thing that we have is gaming. And maybe there's some people in there that I've been thinking about joining the military. What do you think? And they can come to us for advice. I mean, depending on who they ask, they probably get some pretty bad advice. Somebody with a bad experience would give them some bad advice. But for the most part, we could give civilians advice on how they can help out with the veteran community as well.
We've had a few people that have actually joined, and they try to get verified. They didn't know that they couldn't before, they went to boot camp at least, and they're all excited. They got some more info from people, and then they ended up getting verified after they went to boot camp, and they just had that. So they were so excited to come back into the server and be able to get verified and have an even deeper connection with the people that they were already gaming with.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, some of the cooler people that are in there that I know are the civilians. They're the ones that are just we're similar because we have the same game interest and the same sense of humor. Ultimately, is really what it comes down to. They just didn't make the best decision of their lives and joined the military. They went the smarter route and probably went to college, or just were like, nah, that's not for me.
Worst best job I've ever had.
True. That's so true.
It's a good way to describe it. And what you're doing there is you're effectively creating a mentorship, right? You're giving people who you mentioned they thought about the military, but they don't quite know. But the thing is, some people, when they don't have that guidance, right, they just go. Mm-hmm. And they don't go without a thought in the world. And then they come back okay, why did I do that? Right. So the fact that you're also creating this mentorship for people who are going to eventually serve, I mean, that's awesome.
There's a lot of things that regiment has. We even have VA staff. So for the vets that we have that are trying to go through VA disability claims and stuff, we have VA staff that are, on the, they're board certified VA workers that can help give advice on what to do for their claims and send them in the right direction to get their disability claims done so that they can actually, get their claims approved, which has kind of been the hard thing. I'm currently still going through it. A lot of the VA claim stuff, it's a nightmare to deal with, honestly, mostly because of the VA, when it comes to doing disability claims, you're fighting to prove the things that you went through, essentially. So for me, I was a paratrooper. I have a lot of injuries in my back, my knees, my hips that I'm going to live with for the rest of my life because of all the things that I did. I was with an airborne infantry unit. Carrying all the equipment, doing all the jumps, getting hurt on jumps and still doing the mission, all that stuff. And then the guys that go on deployments, they're exposed to, the burn pit thing or just being in combat. It's once you get out, you have to, when you go to file these claims, you got to prove it to the VA, essentially, that you're having these issues. And basically they look at you like you're lying unless you can actually prove the documentation, which is an unfortunate thing. But I think it came because people were abusing the system, which typically that these kinds of things go in place because of. And that's kind of, why it's so damn hard to actually get your claims through in the VA. So we have the VA staff in the regiment that can kind of, I actually talked to one a few days ago because of my claim issues. And, they give you good advice on what to do. Like, hey, should I get a lawyer for this? Because it's been 3 times now. And they said, no, try doing it again like this. Go through these papers, like fill out these papers, go through this process, etc., before taking that step. So that's what's another cool thing that we have. We have a bunch of resources. Like, honestly, we have a lot. We even have, we actually have like our own stream team. So like for streaming, like we have the Task Force Twitch, which is the official regiment streamers, the guys and girls that stream on the regiment's Twitch channel. So we got that too. But I also want to actually bring up a couple of things for announcements that regiment has. So in June 10th, we have a $5,000 2v2 Call of Duty charity LAN at American Legion Post in Osseo, Minnesota. So there will be an announcement out for that soon. Like I said before, we were at the American Legion Convention in August last year. There's going to be another one this year that we're going to be at. So it's going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so we have a booth there. I'm assuming Paradox will be there as well, our PC sponsor, because they were there last time. Not 100% on that one, but we definitely are going to have a booth there. This month, actually on the 29th, we have a $500 Madden tournament for Madden NFL. And we got 2 huge sponsor announcements coming in May. And we're also hosting a gaming tournament on a military base. And official announcement will be soon.
Whoa.
So we got a lot of things coming up in the next couple of months. And also, I think, Doc, you can show them the IW hike schedule.
I have it. It's the graphic has been updated. The best way to get to an Urban Warriors hike is to go to urbanwarriors.com and go to the events page, and you can find your city. We're all over. We're worldwide. There's some coming up in Frankfurt, Germany. There's one coming up in France. We already have the London one, the Guam one, the Puerto Rico. I think there's over 100 hikes this year all around the country, as well as the overseas locations. But those are the times for all of our active duty and veterans that are gamers to touch some grass for a day.
It's a great, those hikes are so cool. They're so much fun because like it's just a bunch of vets just hanging out with each other and having a good time. It's not, some people confuse it with a bar crawl, and it's definitely not that at all.
If you see it walking down your street, you would look at it and be like, what is happening? Yeah, there's these half naked dudes with flags and flak jackets. What is happening?
Mm-hmm.
And it almost looks like a weird protest.
It really kind of does. Some people, it's like on some of the hikes, we have some people like, what are you protesting? Like, we're not. We're just here to hang out and improve veteran. Like we're trying to we're protesting, suicide, and we're trying to improve veteran and military mental health. That's what we're doing here.
You're doing that through touching some grass, huh?
Pretty much, or pavement, because in the big cities, it's kind of like, you kind of have no choice but to walk on the sidewalk. Chicago.
True.
And depends on the city. Like there's a lot of hoops to jump through for it. I'm gonna post. Can I post a link to IW in here?
You can post a link, absolutely. And then, of course, when this YouTube video also pulls up, like we can also throw those into the description as well.
Oh yeah, there's a IW YouTube.
Irreverent Warriors.
Yes, because stemmed from the inability to take serious things seriously, which is the heart of military humor. Is 100%. We joke about things that most non-veterans would commit us for.
Yeah, my wife she does tell me that she's like, you have a very interesting sense of humor. I'm like, I know.
It's one way to put it. It's one way to put it. It's just like, just come from working in the medical field myself. It's very similar to, like you said, you worked with like the EMTs and everything. It's very, very similar to that, to where it's really hard and it's super rough, and you're joking about death and things that you generally wouldn't, or I guess shouldn't, but that's how you cope and that's how you get through.
Right.
And that
and this right here, yes. I thought
Yep.
I'd share the screen.
Mhm.
You can all see that right here. Irreverent
It's-
Warriors. And you said they're just about everywhere. They're the Mr. Worldwide, pretty much.
if you go to the events tab, it'll show all around the country, all the little tabs
Ah, there we go. There we go.
everywhere.
Yep.
And they're all volunteer led. So like the places that don't really have one, no one's rogered up to do it. I used to put them on myself, and I moved to higher leadership and managing social media things. That's it. The only caveat, so for yourself, unfortunately, we wouldn't allow you to be on the hike element,
Of
but
course.
you'd be able to like volunteer at the stops and like at the beginning and stuff. The reason that we have it like that is because we want all of those veterans to know that everyone around them has, at a bare minimum, they all went to boot camp. They all have that basic connection, and they can feel comfortable and not have to like worry about someone that didn't serve, like offending them or just not understanding.
Right.
And that's why we've kept it like that.
That's totally fair. Yeah,
But we still welcome everyone else to help volunteer for it, because we have plenty of volunteers at all the hikes, and then like honestly, without some of our non-military volunteers, a lot of the organization wouldn't be able to function.
And also they're outside of the states too. You could probably see on the map, there's Puerto Rico, there's Germany, there's France. Guam is a new one. I didn't know about Guam.
Yeah, I think we had Guam last year. I'm not 100%. This year could have been our first one, but we've definitely grown in the past 4 years. It started in 2015.
And what was
And
the first location?
California, I believe California. If you've ever heard of Vet TV, Veteran Television, it was started by Danny Mayer or Donnie O'Malley. He's the creator and founder of both organizations. And Vet TV is kind of like the video for-profit version of what Irreverent Warriors is.
I see.
We're the nonprofit side of things for one specific mission, and then he makes his videos.
Nice. And then if people want to join these events, what do they just show up? Do they sign up? What's going on? How do they
Pretty much on these events at all the cities, as long as almost all the cities, depending on how far out they are, they go through Eventbrite. There's a link that you click on the city and it goes through the Eventbrite page. They're all free. None of them cost any money. They do take donations. They have merchandise that you can buy as part of your ticket and stuff, which helps fund the hike and pay to be able to, have it on, because it's a nonprofit. So they got to get funds from somewhere, but it's completely free. And honestly, like myself, I go to so many that I send most of my donations just straight to national.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes to the entire organization, because I don't like to pick and choose my favorites who I donate to. And
Regiment's
they're great
been
because there's no gear. A lot of hikes will have like the 22 kilometers where you'll have the weight on your back, you'll be wearing your boots, where it is a common theme and people will do that, but it's not a requirement. We tell people that like we've had people in wheelchairs, we will start together and we will finish together. You want to hike in tennis shoes, flip-flops, and a t-shirt, as long as you're getting there and getting that interaction.
Oh.
And with Regiment being, kind of partner with them too, it's a lot of Regiment members go to these too. So
a lot of jerseys and flags.
Yeah, we got Chris to his first one, a year and a half ago?
That one was Columbus. That's why the barbecue was there.
Ah, yeah.
That's where the green weenie event came from.
This picture too actually captures it perfectly. Exactly what you were talking about. A bunch of shirtless folks, a lot of flags.
Mm-hmm.
And we keep it very non-political. We tell people that if they have a political flag, they've either got to leave the hike or put it in their car or something. Like it's because that's not what it's about.
All the flags that are brandished at those hikes are either the American flag or branch flag or unit flag.
Mm-hmm.
Just that. That's pretty much it. Like the regiment flag, I got a new one right here, ready for the next hike.
Mm-hmm. Like if it's military oriented, they can generally fly it. It just can't be political.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're not trying to start those kinds of discussions, right?
No, enough people, depending on the city, already think that's kind of what we are if they see us first glance. And it's frustrating in itself for people to not understand that it's just about the connection.
It's kind of funny looking at that main picture right there. The guy just sitting on the beach staring off into space. Like, what is this and why are they blocking my sun?
Did they have to walk right here?
Why are they screaming? Why are they half naked?
And it's a rain or shine event too. The last one I just went to, it rained the entire time. But I mean, if it ain't raining, we ain't training.
Facts. That's the motto of the military. If it ain't raining, we ain't training.
And then speaking of fun events, I know you've mentioned barbecues. Those sound pretty good. So tell us a little bit more about those if people are interested.
So there hasn't been an official announcement yet for the next one, but pretty much it is just that. It's like a regiment barbecue where people from regiment and whoever wants to go wants to hang out and come meet the owner of the org, meet the staff members, meet us. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it this year because of school. I'm gonna try. Typically the barbecue happens in the summertime. So there just hasn't been an announcement yet, and we're still trying to figure out location and dates. So I'm hoping soon that we'll have an announcement for that. So definitely we'll push it over to you guys once we actually get dates set.
Definitely, and we'll be sure to publicize that. So I think a lot of people would have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, and we'd love to have you guys out there and talk about your organization as well.
Absolutely. And if you talk to, I don't know if you talked to him, but the founder of WarriorGMR, Josh, I don't know if you interacted with him yet?
Have not, no.
Just the two of us have not, no.
Chris might have. The only interaction we've had was with Ken.
Mm-hmm, okay.
So
well, just keep that name in the back of your head because if he looks at this episode, which he will, he'll be watching this one. He'll light up. His face will light up, and he'll definitely want to talk to you guys.
Oh yeah.
By all means, we're the nerds, and we don't have lives, so I know my schedule is usually, honestly, more open than his is most of the time.
Yeah, I'm in IT school, so
that's going to take some time. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm currently in my I'm wrapping up my 1, 2, 3. This is going to be my 4th semester. I'm wrapping up right now, and I'm going to be starting summer semester next month, and I've got all the way until going into spring of next year. So I got another year left of school.
It just does it.
No, especially this semester. I was taking 15 credits this semester. So using my GI Bill benefits to kind of get me going. And then the summer is going to be nice and light, so I'll have more time for all the extra stuff. But the next 2 semesters after the summer, it's going to be, I'm going to be pretty busy for the next year because of that. So
I'm just still active duty. So when things suck, they suck. But when they don't, they're not that bad.
You go home at 1 o'clock every day.
That's not true.
Okay.
I said when things suck, they suck. When they don't, they don't.
Grass is greener, right? He's looking at the 1 o'clock and it's like, I would like that, you know?
Right.
The
Yeah.
operational life. I mean, he understands the days when I work till like 6 o'clock and like the deployments and underways, things where you're in the field, always doing stuff, never getting to go home. The good side of it is when things are not doing all that, you don't have that op tempo, you're kind of just chilling.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the good side of dealing with the garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's like once it's out of the way, you can kind of just
100%.
Yeah.
Operational life is the way to go.
Noted. All right. Well, with that, we've been on for quite some time now.
That's usually how most of me and his podcasts end up going.
Yeah, I was looking
we kind of, this is the first time that I've been on the receiving end of a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So it was my first time being a guest on one. So it's
even I've been a guest on one.
Yeah, I mean you have, but so yeah, usually when it comes to me and Doc, like it's get ready for a bit of time. We try to compress it as much as we can, but you know, we tend to
squirrel off, but the banter just goes, it flows so naturally.
Yeah, the big personalities. It's pretty much it.
Well, that's the fun way, right? I mean, if it's entirely structured, well, what's the point? That's just my thought. That's my opinion. But
and I think that's why like talk radio that kind of went to the wayside, and it was too structured. It was too many commercials, right. And it didn't feel natural. I did a radio when I was in Gitmo, and we would do it very, very structured in the beginning, and it just felt wrong and awkward. And we switched it to more of a podcast style where we would have specific topics we'd kind of go over and we talk about it so we wouldn't overlap each other, but it felt more natural. So you can have that conversation, you can lightly structure it, have some like set questions and topics to go over, much like almost any podcast, but it's got to flow naturally, I think.
Right.
Yeah, in my early days of doing this, I went with the structure method, and it was hard for me to follow the structure method. So I kind of condensed it to bullet points of things I want to talk about. And then just anything in between is kind of just free flow.
We're pretty squirrely.
We are very squirrely. The bullet points are just to keep us on task at that point.
We've had episodes called the squirrel episode.
We've had episodes go 4 hours.
4 hours, excuse me?
Yeah,
those were in the earlier days.
Level? What's going on?
I think when we started incorporating video with the recordings, we were able to stay on topic more and on a decent amount of time. When it was just us recording and there was no video, we would just go for hours and not even pay attention.
You just get stuck in conversation, and next thing you know, it's like, it's been 3.5 hours. We should probably stop now.
But I think the most important part is you're having fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I love doing these.
It's my favorite hobby. I mean, outside of gaming, it's my favorite hobby because it gives, like, podcasts, especially like Smoke Pit, it gives me and Doc, you know, the chance to hang out again. Like, you know, because he used to live here, and now that we have to do it remote because he doesn't live here anymore, he used to come over because I have a 2-desk setup, so he would sit across from me, and we would just kind of have the video like that. And then I do it with my other friends too. Like, I'm gonna eventually on the Smoke Pit have some, you know, like a VSO guest. I'm gonna have
y'all gonna be on there.
Yeah, y'all are gonna be on there. But I'm gonna actually have, you know, it's nice to have an excuse to have my friends come over and just hang out, you know.
Absolutely.
It's real conversation. I hate small talk.
Real conversation is fun. I like having fun with people.
Absolutely.
Small talk annoys me. Like, how's your day going? I'd rather not do this with you right now.
Mm-hmm.
Radio stations tend to do that. So
yeah, I usually like to, when I ask somebody how their day is doing, usually, I mean, in med school, people just say the same thing. Oh, I'm just studying. It's like, yeah, I know you're studying. I'm doing the same thing. Tell me, how are you doing? Like,
how are you doing though? Are you okay?
Yeah. what have you been up to? Surely you've done something over the weekend. Like, did you go work out? Like, did you go see somebody? Tell me. You don't have to share all the details, but come on. I know your life is boring. My life is boring too. It's okay. Tell me something new.
I like boring.
My favorite icebreaker is like, hey, did you see this? And I just show them something wild on the internet.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, a little bit. We won't get into it though.
It's not for all audiences.
It's not for all
it's
audience,
not
yeah.
for any audience.
Or even for military audiences, like, did you hear the story about this? And then I'd show them the story and then or something like that. It just typically would be like, you know, the icebreaker is the one thing that people tend to struggle with. And you know, getting the icebreaker in. And I'm basically
it just shatters the entire pond.
I am the earth shatterer for icebreakers for sure.
It's like videos where the person in person's watching, but nobody else can see.
Pretty much.
We actually, my buddies, have some friends up in Oregon. In our Discord channel, we have a specific sub channel called WTF, and that'll be our icebreaker. So sometimes we'll just pop in and be like, "Hey, did you see this?" Same situation. Like, some people should not be seeing that stuff.
I can only imagine, because I'm assuming that this Discord is med students.
There's a few med students, but then there's just a bunch of random folks from Oregon. Yeah. But yeah, there's some medical stuff in there. It's pretty gnarly. It's really gnarly.
That's like, as soon as you send med student Discord with the WTF page, I just imagine them like, this is
horrendous pictures.
That's gonna be like,
oh yeah,
wild medical procedures and stuff. It's like yeah.
Sometimes I have to be careful if I'm doing flashcards in public and an image shows up. I'm like, just gotta look around, make sure nobody.
I don't open up things that my friends send me in public. I don't trust them anymore.
Yeah,
you can't.
Lesson learned the hard way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That first loud moan that went off my speakers in public.
I know the meme you're talking about too.
Talking about. Yeah.
Where it's just like it's nothing, but the audio is like absolutely max, and you're in public.
Yep. Ever since that day, never again.
I saw a video of a guy punch through his laptop and he opened his laptop and that was the sound. And he just like walked away because he was like, I can't believe that happened to me.
Never again.
Nope.
It can wait till I get home.
I feel like we all have to learn the hard way at some point.
Mm-hmm.
It's most of my life.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you having us on here.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you coming on. This is like one of the most fun episodes I've done, actually.
Glad to hear it.
Absolutely. This is what we like. This is kind of what we envisioned. I know Ken and I were really talking about how we wanted to structure our podcast, very just free flow, almost Joe Rogan-esque, and we really just wanted to have some fun with it, get all kinds of people on. So, I mean, maybe if you look at the YouTube channel, like, oh, sorry?
Which episode is this for you guys?
This is going to be episode, I believe, 18.
Sweet. Do you have it, your guys' stuff linked in here?
We do. Hold up. Let me just WarriorGMR Foundation Official. It's the big YouTube title. And I can put a link right in here for you. So boom, there it is. You know,
you guys on Spotify too?
What's up?
Are you guys on Spotify too?
No, we're not. We're I'm lazy. I don't want to say we, because I want to say if I really budgeted the time, I could probably just. I mean, how hard could it be? That's what I'm saying.
It's the same. It's an upload.
So it's very easy. So pretty much, do you know of OBS?
Yes.
So we do our episodes through OBS, and because we can video and voice record, and there's a app called, or not an app, but there's a site called Anchor by Spotify, and it started off as Anchor, but now they partner with Spotify, and it's a podcast distribution site where it'll give you your own RSS feed, and it will also link your episodes to Spotify and Apple by default. And on Spotify, you can upload video, and it will upload video and audio. Everything else, it'll upload audio, so it'll convert your videos into MP3. And then you can it'll post all that on there. You just got to link it. And then you have video, audio on Spotify. and then I also post it to YouTube. So yeah, like it's actually it's a lot easier than it used to be. I will say that. When I started doing this, it was like pretty new outside of people that were like professionals doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But now there's so many tools for doing it because it got popular. Like it's just so easy. On top of that, Anchor's completely free too, so you don't have to spend a single dime to do it.
Yeah, we were thinking about moving over to OBS or some other platform.
OBS is nice. Capturing certain
StreamYard is really good for remote guests as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
StreamYard is kind of similar to Google Meets, to where you can send them a link and they can virtually get in, but the StreamYard has ways to be able to record it and keep that file as well.
All right.
And honestly, you could always screen capture record with OBS regardless. But
Got it.
so
Well,
I look forward to watching the episode and having you guys on ours. We'll have to
Oh, yeah.
contact.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Until then, we're
Have a good one.
Signing off.
Have a good night.
All right. Have a good night.
Have a good night. I'll let you two take your leave, and then I'll close this thing up entirely.
By all means.
All righty.
Peace out, everybody.
Later, y'all.
Good night.
Warrior Gamer Headquarters Podcast. Out.